we are back and we are live with our developer panel. We have your friends, your peers, your colleagues live on stage here to answer your questions, both live and pre-submitted. So just like before, I'm going to start going through the pre-submitted questions, but if you have a question, go ahead and stand next to those two mics. And again, we're a little short on time, so we're going to keep things as succinct as possible. My new word of the day. All right, but first, who the heck do we have here on stage? Let's find out. Starting with my left, your right. He's the CEO of Red Manta. He's released games such as World Zero and Robloxian High School. And his fun fact, well, his favorite tree is the palm tree. He's been on Roblox since 2009. Let's give it up for Abstract Alex. All right, moving right down the line, we have a member of the Roblox family since 2008. She works at Uplift Games, including working on Adopt Me. Well, this fun fact, half of Nemoji Games, and she likes clothes more than breathing. All right, let's give it up for Zoe Basil. All right, this next panelist joined Roblox in 2011. She is the CEO of Full Flower Studio, LLC. She's made games such as My Droplets and Mermaid Life. And her fun fact, well, she's an aspiring aerialist. Let's give it up for My Stuff. All right, our next panelist joined Roblox in 2011. He specializes in software engineering and has made games such as Lua Learning, RB Battles 2, and created countless open source projects. His fun fact, he's been on Roblox for the majority of his life. Let's give it up for Boat Bomber. All right. Our next member of the panel joined in 2012. She's the creative lead at a company called Untamed Planet. She's made games such as the Bloxy Awards. She's a ×2 Game Jam winner and builds many showcases. Her fun fact, she's the first female to win first place in a game jam. Let's give it up for X Jenny Bean X. And she knows how to play to the crowd. All right, and the man on the end there has been in the Roblox family since 2009. He runs Cindering Studio. He's the lead developer and programmer and made games such as Roblox High School 2 and Super Striker League. His fun fact, this is the longest his hair has ever been. Let's give it up for the one and only Cindering. All right, well, we have no time to spare, so I think I'm just going to jump right in with some fun, hard-hitting questions. And this is kind of a two-part question to two of you as well on the ends here for Abstract, Alex, and Cindering. How do you leverage analytics to help increase player retention? What analytics do you look for? We'll start with Alex here, maybe, and we'll hear from both of you.
Cool. Yeah, so we look at a lot of analytics, but I think the most important thing to pay attention to for us with analytics is figuring out which ones matter for your game and which don't. So for example, in our games, we track a lot of stats, and it's really easy to look at those and try to move certain ones the way you want. So for us, it's really about, if you're building a game about World Zero, users clearing dungeons, then you're going to want to make sure, are people getting through those dungeons? Are they actually playing my core game? So tracking metrics that are really relevant to you.
Cindering, anything to add here?
Yeah, likewise. In Super Strike League, I found it really useful to track when players hit certain milestones in the tutorial. So I want to make sure like people get into their first game, they reach a certain level milestones. So if you set up analytics to track how many players are reaching those milestones and making sure that your first-time user experience is solid, then that will definitely help increase your retention.
Awesome. And this was a separate question, but while we're on the topic, I'm going to ask it anyway. Alex, back to you. What is the best way to get started on implementing analytics? How to begin?
Yeah, so the first thing you're going to need to do is pick an analytics provider. So Roblox has their analytics going out, which are amazing. There's a lot of other services we've tried. Each has their ups and downs. But getting somewhere to look at those analytics, and if you're not going to do that, just using Roblox's base analytics, so things like how many visits am I getting per day, are my players retaining, things like that. The creator dashboard is a really good help. So start with that, and then for your custom analytics, track, like Cindering said, your first-time user loop. So when a user's going through your game, are they actually getting into your game, or are they quitting before they create a character or something like that? And that's really valuable to know.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Moving right along, this question's for Boat Bomber. Boat Bomber, boy, I'm getting tongue-tied already. I'm a builder. There's more B's to come. I'm a builder that wants to get into scripting. What is your recommendation on how to start?
So that's a great question, and one I get asked a lot. By a show of hands, who here has made an obby? That's the majority of the room, and there's a reason for that. An obby is a great place to start because it makes you dip yourself into all the pools, but only in the shallow end. You got to do leaderboards, checkpoints, player damaging, physics constraints for moving objects. So you get the basics of a lot of concepts that you'll be using throughout your game development journey, and then you can expand upon that and get more complicated, add a clever twist, make it themed. And there's always tons of tutorials on this, so you'll never be lost for any longer than it takes you to type how to make a Roblox obby and then click the first result on YouTube. So I always recommend that you start with an obby to get into game development and then use those concepts to expand and build out your portfolio.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to do another pre-submitted question before moving to some live ones. And this is for all the devs here. So I'm going to do what we did before. I'm going to ask it first, and we're going to go down the line and do one at a time and give some sweet, sweet answers. But this one's an important one, so I want to hear it for all of you. What has been your proudest moment on the platform? Whether it is a game, a community, a plugin, something you've created or experienced, what was your proudest moment with your history on Roblox? And I'm going to start right to my left with Alex, who hopefully is a quick thinker.
Yeah, so for us, it has to be the release of World Zero. That was a game that we really invested everything into. We spent nearly 2 years developing it. We had no idea, is this going to work? We knew we were building an MMORPG, basically one of the most content-demanding genres. So when we released it and saw that it was doing well on Roblox, that was, like, there's no words to describe that. That's just the happiest I think we'd probably ever been at the company. So all those last 2 years of work paid off. We knew it wasn't worth nothing. And yeah, that was definitely the best moment for us.
Awesome. Zoe, how you feeling?
I'd say for me, going to the company and doing an internship with the engineering side of things in the summer of 2019 was a really big moment for me. It felt like really good to kind of like get in with the company, sort of understand how things work from the back-end side, be working on the platform that meant so much to me growing up and had such a big impact on my life.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Maista, how you feeling?
Feeling good.
Great, great. What was your proudest moment on Roblox?
I think my proudest moment on Roblox is probably getting to work with so many amazing people to create games like Mermaid Life and My Droplets, because it's not something that I would say is like something that I did, and I want to shout out to my Full Flower team and just say, like, I'm really excited to work with all of you, and you're all really talented, and I'm really proud that we all got to release these games together.
Fantastic. Awesome. Ooh. You've got some fans. Boat Bomber, what is your proudest moment?
So every time I release an open source module or a project and I see people using it, I feel really proud of that. But I have to say probably the proudest moment would have been when I won the Bloxy Award for Most Educational Game from Lua Learning. That really felt like a culmination and acknowledgement of all the work I'd put in for like the 2.5 years at that point.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. All right. Jenny Bean X, what's your proudest moment?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I would actually say the Accelerator program. Getting involved in that has been an incredible opportunity to get to know so many friends and learn a lot. So I think that would certainly be the way to go for sure.
Fantastic. And a plug for the Accelerator. All right, Cindering, what's your proudest moment?
Well, beyond just making games on here, I'm really proud of building an amazing community around Roblox High School 2. Like Roblox High School 2's community has just been so wholesome and awesome, and it's created so many great friendships and everything. So I'm really happy that I was able to bring so many awesome people together, and that's one thing I'm really proud of.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And yes, thank you all devs for your answers there. We'll give them a round of applause. We got time to celebrate. All right, I'm going to take some live questions over here on this side of the room. Go ahead and state your name and your question and who it might be for.
Hey, I'm Undone Builder, and I'd like to ask a question to Jenny Bean. I've been following Untamed Planet for a while now, and I'd love to know more about that project.
Did you hear that exactly?
It was a little bit difficult to understand.
Undone. Can you do it one more time? Step a little
Sorry
closer.
about that. So I've been following Untamed Planet for a while, and I would love to hear more about that project.
Yeah, for sure. So Untamed Planet is a game that focuses on wildlife conservation and inspiring the next generation of kids to help save our planet and its biodiversity. About 50% of our proceeds go towards wildlife conservation, and we often have campaigns that can make the world a better place. So yeah, we're pretty focused on that.
Awesome. Fantastic stuff. All right, I'm going to jump to this side of the room. Go ahead and state your name, your question, and who it's for.
Hello, I'm James Quinty. This is for people leading game studios. How do you find and retain talent?
Ooh, that is a good question. All right, who wants to start here on this side of the room? Alex.
Yeah, so that's a tough question, I think not only for us, but for every company, probably Roblox as well even.
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's really about, we want people that are passionate about our games. So we want people that they want to do this, like they want to wake up and do this. That's what they eat, breathe, sleep. So when we find people that are passionate about games like that, we want to bring them on and make sure they have whatever they need to get what they want to do done. So basically, we're very selective in who we bring on, but we try to really support those people.
Great. Love to go down the line here. Anyone want to contribute? Mazda, any words of advice?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me when I'm looking at somebody's portfolio, when I'm hoping that they will send a portfolio because I've had people not do that before, but once I start really digging into their work, I think it's really important to pay attention to the tiny details that they put into their work. I recently hired somebody who I could just tell, like, they're really passionate and they will put in so much small things that are going to, like, really impact the game in the big way. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I want to give time for anyone else who wants to contribute to this at all. Yes, down on the end there. X Jenny Bean X.
Yeah, so at Untamed Planet, we're currently hiring and kind of seeing who would be interested in getting involved in wildlife conservation and making a lot of efforts towards that. We certainly look for passionate people, of course, but primarily we're focused on, the health of the individual and making sure that they're doing okay. So yeah, overall, just passion, ready to make the world better.
And Cindering.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond just looking for people who are really skilled at a particular thing. It's also important to look at their personality, see how they fit in with your team, make sure you have good team chemistry, because it's important that you love the people that you work with. And so definitely look for personality as well as their skills.
Great. Awesome. I'm going to jump back over to some pre-submitted questions here as time continues to tick by. This question is for Boat Bomber and Mazda, so I'm going to look at both of y'all. How do you balance work and life? What is the best way you have to avoid burnout?
I'd like to take that first.
Okay. Yeah, I think for the most part, it's really important to look at yourself and understand that you are a single person and you may have so many different talents and so many different things that you can do, and you think you can take on so much work, but at the end of the day, things are going to come up, and you need to be able to delegate your work out to other people, and you need to have enough respect for yourself to understand that and really put a focus on creating a reasonable schedule for yourself. I started implementing a schedule for myself where I wake up at the same time, I have hours that I'm working, and I have hours that I dedicate to myself. I recently become very addicted to working out, and just like having the balance between working on a computer and then also having physical activities has really helped stop me from getting burnt out so often.
So my answer may not work for everyone, but it works for me. What I like to do is on some weekends, instead of working on my projects, I'll start a small side project, something that I can finish in a day or two, and then when I'm done, I'll open source it so that it can fit into what I do. And this way I can keep my passion up, keep working on new, interesting things that keep the fire lit without getting bored or burned out on a project that I've been working on for 3 years straight.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that helpful advice. And I'm going to turn it back out here to a live question on this side of the room. Go ahead and step up and close to that mic. Tell us your name and your question.
Hey, I'm Coffee Nerd. My question is for Boat Bomber. What inspired you to make Lua Learning?
So when I was starting to learn, the resources online were great, but they were very scattered and it was hard to find things. So I wanted to create a cohesive, coherent thing that had all of the stuff in one place. Now, this was one of those side project ideas where you say you're going to do it, you write it down, and then you never do. But in late 2017, early 2018, some games started popping up on the front page where they would sell access to the game. They were paid access, and they'd have a really nice thumbnail, and the game would promise to teach you how to program. And when you join the game after paying, it would be like some screenshots of the wiki on a base plate. And it really upset me to see that people were exploiting kids' dreams of learning to program. So I decided to do something about that and create a free alternative so that nobody would have to pay for these resources again.
Awesome. This guy, for the people. All right, I realize we should check in online. Do we have any questions going on online? Let's make sure we get those in.
Oh, yeah. All right. This one comes from Spectaqual. Roblox is a platform which has encouraged people all around the world to meet new friends. As game developers, what's your favorite way to encourage socializing with others?
Oh, yeah. In that case, anyone jumping at this question, did they include who they were asking it to?
I could take a shot.
All right.
Yeah, so something we really like to do for social is add a bit of almost take away control from the game designers and give it to the players in a way that lets them be social. And this can seem really counterintuitive at first. An example would be trading items in your game. Let's say I can go earn an item, I have to spend 5 hours unlocking it, but then another player can just trade it to me. As a game designer, that sounds scary because a player can get an item without having to spend any time. But from a player perspective, the idea that they can get items without following traditional routes, it just feels like they're in a really big environment where they can do lots of different things in lots of different ways. And I find that that kind of connection helps the most.
Awesome. Why don't we get one more online question since I skipped them on the round before. Unless you're not ready, then we can go on.
You're a good guy, Jay Party. Thank you.
He's
all right, let's see. This one's from Merely Novice. How do you not feel, sorry, it's worded a little interesting. How do you choose how to price your products and game passes to ensure that they're not priced too high? So I guess, how do you determine your prices?
Economies, scaling. How do we do it? Who's ready to jump at this question?
I can take this one. This is where analytics that we mentioned earlier can come into play. You can watch your economy through your analytics dashboard, and through potential A/B testing or just testing in general, you can find that price point where supply meets demand and where you maximize your revenue without over monetizing your game.
This is also a great question for our DevRel game design team, who I'm sure could build you quite a spreadsheet to answer this question. All right, let's jump back over to some pre-submitted ones. This one's for Zoe Basil. The Adopt Me is a massive game, but what has been your most interesting challenge you faced working on the project?
That's a great question. Choo-choo trains. We had to implement a train vehicle for one of the updates. It was one of the legendary vehicles we had. And it seems like it would be really simple to have like something that pulls other things along with it. But I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the concept of network ownership on Roblox. You had a lot of issues where, since you were the network owner of your pet, when your pet sits in the train, you gain network ownership of a train with 10 people in it, or like 5 people in it. And so we had to build all this state stuff out to make sure that the person driving the train is still the network owner of the train. And getting all the physics stuff worked out was really, really difficult. There was a lot of contingencies and things like that, but that was a small but really fun thing to work on.
Great, awesome, thank you so much here. Jumping into our next question, this one says it's for Alex, but I do want to invite other devs, if you have ideas to plug in on this, to kind of jump in afterwards. The question is, how do you develop faster? Do you use assets from other games, other frameworks? What are the steps you're using to increase efficiency?
Yeah, so frameworks, we, at least at Red Manta, there's a million different ways of doing it, but our style is we consider Roblox as the framework, and then we just build our product within that. So we don't try to build additional layers on top of it. If we feel like something like UI is not working well enough that it needs a framework, then we go approach Roblox and say, can we get that made better so that we don't have to work around it? So yeah, for us, we try to avoid frameworks and try to focus on the fun as fast as possible. So figuring out, how can we have fun playing this game after 2 weeks of development? How do we not spend all of that time on UI and data saving and things that don't matter if your game isn't fun yet?
Awesome. Anyone else have any thoughts they'd like to include on this one?
Sure. I like to use, Lua Learning is made entirely out of UI elements. So I use Fusion, a declarative UI framework that helps me make everything modular components that are reusable throughout the experience so that it has a cohesive and consistent feel to the UI while also allowing me to prototype faster and maintain individual objects and have them update everywhere in the game immediately.
Fantastic. And I'm going to throw in one more question because you said a magical word that I see here. And again, this one's for Alex, but I open it up to everyone to contribute to. How do you measure this word you just used, fun? What is fun?
Yeah, so you can't objectively measure fun. That's the fun part about it. And everyone's definition of fun is different, so you shouldn't try to come up with like a general broad sense. Essentially, our strategy at Red Manta is we make games that we would want to play. So whenever we're working on a game, if nobody at the company enjoys that game, then there's no chance that it's going to succeed. It has to be something that I will actually spend an hour in, lose track of time, and have fun playing. And with our new prototype, within 2 weeks, we were spending like hours every day playing it. And so we decided that this is it. We have to build this game out. This is fun. So that's kind of how we decided, is how quickly can you build something that you yourself want to spend time in.
Awesome. And I do invite anyone else to add into how you measure fun. That's the beauty.
I think Alex
you don't.
really said it, where you just, if you're enjoying the game, that's your metric. If you're like trying to test a feature and you find out, whoops, I've accidentally been playing for 30 minutes when I meant to play for 45 seconds, you've hit fun.
Yeah, it's certainly part of the challenge as a game developer.
Yes, the elusive fun. All right, let's turn to some live questions. I'm going to jump back to this side of the room. Go ahead and state your name and your question. And I believe you stumped my last panel. Let's see if we can do better.
Okay. Hi, I'm Camille, RoboCambot. I've been wondering, once your game is out, usually players, in order to keep engaging with it, need to receive more content updates over the coming weeks or months. How long do you wait until bringing them a new content update? Because some of them usually want like new content after 2 weeks, and sometimes that's not possible.
Fantastic question. Did you all understand exactly? Do you have anyone specifically you're asking, or on the stage, does anyone feel good about this? Content release cadences. Once your game's out there, how do you decide when and how to provide new content to keep folks engaged? Who's got a way to do it? Is it measured? Do you feel it in the wind?
With Mermaid Life, generally what we're doing is we have tinier content updates that just support like the core features in our game. We have new outfit releases, generally like 2 weeks out. And then we also will have a lot larger updates where we will want to release kind of a new feature, and that usually takes a month or so. So it's really just about like what your team can handle and being able to find things that you can get people excited about that are small every week, and then having the bigger things that you can hype up, like in the jailbreak talk, how they were talking about having countdowns and all that kind of stuff for the larger updates. So yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else want to jump in on this at all? Otherwise, we will keep going through as time ticks by.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say like it's good to stockpile smaller pieces of content so you can release them in shorter intervals of time, and while you release those, at the same time you can work on larger updates, which you can release every 1 or 2 months maybe. So that's a good strategy for handling that.
Jenny, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, just want to say it certainly comes down to also like planning and roadmaps and that sort of thing. It's incredibly important to communicate with your team as much as you can. And yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
All right, fantastic. Let's jump over to this side of the room and go ahead and get a live question.
Hi, I'm Evelyn, or Ebrin on the platform. And this question is for Jenny. I absolutely love your work. And I have what's some advice you give to newer developers about exploring opportunities that they're interested in and passionate about?
Oh, wow. That is a really good question. I think something that is really unique about Roblox developers in general is that we're all driven to learn by ourselves and by the will to want to learn. So I guess to answer your question, it's just a leap of faith, totally jump into it, believe in yourself. If you need to, call a friend, have them motivate you, that sort of thing. But yeah, it certainly comes down to just believing in yourself for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. While over there, let's go to an online question.
Hello, this one comes from Cal_III. How do you increase productivity while working? This goes to anyone who has thoughts.
Productivity. How do we keep ourselves focused? Jenny, tell us how to focus.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are certainly moments where it's difficult to focus. Life has its ups and downs, but what I tend to do is I try to minimize the amount of tabs that I switch through, because I find that, jumping out of Chrome and jumping into Studio can be a little bit distracting. I also would highly recommend listening to music. That is actually something that has helped me a lot, is just getting in the zone.
Lyrical or instrumental?
Instrumental, yeah.
So one of the things that really boosted my productivity, rather than try to eliminate the need to be switching back and forth between windows and tabs, I got a second monitor, and that makes switching back and forth immediate. All I got to do is turn my head a little bit, so I can have like the API documentation on my right and Visual Studio Code on the left, and this way there's no friction between swapping between windows.
And I just wanted to add, I think a really important thing with focus is you can also, or being productive is what you work on can dramatically define if you're productive or not. So we've spent like 2 weeks on an update before, or even fixing a bug that really just didn't matter, like a bug that affects one person, 2 weeks of programming time. Great, the bug's gone. One player sees a difference, everyone else sees nothing. So what we like to do is look at all the potential changes you can make, kind of itemize them, and then figure out which makes sense to do just based on how much it's going to be worth to your players and how much time it's going to take to implement and score them that way.
All right, I'm going to ask a couple more pre-submitted questions as we're running out of time here, but I want to try to get to at least a couple more live ones. So we'll move quickly here. Abstract Alex, this one's for you. How do you entice an older demographic to migrate to the platform and play your games?
Yeah, I don't totally have a magic answer to that one. I wish I did. But for us, we've found that just the type of game can really help. So we found that with World Zero, we saw a much older audience. It was primarily a lot of PC users for an older audience. We actually saw a decent console audience, a lot of family streamers playing with their kids. So for an older audience, my 2 tips would be either make a game that appeals to an older audience, so just a more complex type of game, I guess, or focus on games that people can play with families, because then you'll bring in their parents, brothers, sisters, whatever.
Awesome. And this is kind of a question for the panel as a whole, but it's tagged for Jenny and Boat Bomber. What plugins do you utilize the most? We'd love to hear 2 different ones, one from a builder and one from a scripter. Jenny, would you like to start us off? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So there are, of course, a lot of plugins out there, but the primary ones that I use is Studio Build Suite, otherwise known as SBS. I also use Part Picker a lot. That helps a lot with super complex explorers and workspaces. Just name your parts and organize, and you'll be fine. And Collision Fidelity plugin. That might not be the actual name of it, but that can be incredibly helpful as well.
Yeah, so I like to use Preset Manager, which is a plugin that I made for myself, where you can define a preset, which is a set of properties, attributes, collection service tags, that kind of thing. And this way, you can apply all of those in a single click. So you can have like a tag that says breakable, sets it to glass material and half transparent. And now in one click, you can make a block turn into a window, and that fits into your game. And the other one that I really like using, also made by myself, shocker, I like the things I make, is Benchmarker, which helps me benchmark the performance of Lua code, which helped me get Lua Learning running at over 1,000 frames per second by just figuring out exactly where to optimize and make my code run as fast as possible.
All right, thank you so much. Any other advice from the devs on stage for the top plugins to make your life easier? All right, we're going to keep moving on then. Boat Bomber, while you've got the mic, just kidding, we all do, this one's for you. You've worked a lot on building educational content on the platform. What's your vision for the future of education on Roblox?
That's a really good question. So I feel like in the past few years, we haven't really innovated much in the way of teaching programming. We kind of do the same thing since programming has been invented. And I'm not that creative, but I look at this audience and I see a lot of creative people that I've met in the past couple days. And my vision, I guess, would be to inspire people here to innovate in the field of education. And if I can inspire just one or two of you to do that, then this whole trip here would have been worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are running out of time here, so I apologize, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get one last question because you've been so graciously standing there for so long. Go ahead and state your name and your question.
Hi, my name's Danny. I was just curious to anyone here who thinks they have an answer on how they would take or give advice to people on maybe how they take past projects that may have been, they didn't work out, and put that knowledge and experience towards new projects, and if anyone has any experience with that and what they think about it.
Yeah, so our newest project right now is a game that I prototyped, I think, 2 years ago. I was just working on, it was like a zombie apocalypse survival game, actually. And then I kind of just shelved the code because other things happened. And then recently I had an idea for a game, and then I remembered, okay, I have that prototype. It's already got all these features in it. I can just switch up a few variables and test out a new gameplay loop. And fast forward 8 weeks, if you've seen my Twitter, that's what our newest project is. So we've basically taken a game that had nothing to do with this game and just recycled those components to see how it would feel, and that led us rapid prototype.
I think
it's use the old assets.
Sorry. I think it's important to do a post-mortem and figure out why the previous project failed so that you're not reusing the parts that people didn't like. But if you have good analytics, as we've been mentioning a lot, then you can figure out where you went wrong and how to take the good without the bad for your next project.
Awesome. All right, thank you all so much. I apologize to the other question answers. We are way over time, but the devs will be around. We will all be around. One more big round of applause for all the developers.